So what we're going to do here is we're going to log into the Unified Analytics portal. And once you're in there, you can see a variety of different frameworks, so different applications that you can deploy. Unified Analytics is based on Kubernetes, so everything's open. You can use a variety of different things. And one of the options here is Dremio. And so all you have to do really is click on the Open button. And now you can see all the data that you have inside of Data Fabric. You can see here we have other data sources. We can do joins across different sources. And for this demo, let's go ahead and create a space called Discover. This is the semantic layer here, and you can see there's no data set right now inside of the Discover space. What I'm doing here is I'm going to query a data set with over 1 billion records. And inside the user interface, you can see the description of this data set. This is basically all the New York City taxi trips over a few years. So passenger count, the date, that kind of stuff. We make it very easy to launch Tableau or Power BI directly from the user interface, but it opens up Tableau with a live connection directly to the cluster. Right? So this is all live queries. Nothing is getting extracted into Tableau, but we're basically bringing up Tableau. And you can see here, if I drag the count, that we have over 1 billion records, 1.025 billion records. We can aggregate that by the pickup time of the taxi trip. So you can see about 170 million per year. We can do it more granularly, look at it by week. We can look at what is the average tip amount in a New York City taxi trip. And you can see actually that that's been going up year over year for some reason. What's the average trip distance for a taxi trip? That's kind of more flat, right, over these years. And so now let's look at another, actually look at all the query execution times. You can see they're all sub-second. So we queried all these queries less than 1 second. Now what I want to do is instead of looking at miles, I want to look at kilometers. And so I'm going to multiply the trip distance by 1.6. That's about mile to kilometer conversion. And this is just creating a view, basically. So if you know SQL, you don't have to use the user interface. You can just do this through SQL. And I'm going to save this as trips KM, basically a view or a virtual data set. I can now open up this new view that I just created inside of Tableau. And you'll see here that we have a schema called Discover. And I can drag that new data set we just created and immediately start working with this trip distance kilometer field. So this might have taken days in the past to go through IT, ask them to create a new calculated field, create a new data set. We just did that, and we still got sub-second queries on 1 billion records in less than a second. And now we'll join that data set of New York City taxi trips with data inside of Postgres. So we have weather data, the weather for every day in New York. And we're going to join that on the date column. Again, if you know SQL, you can just write the SQL by hand as well. And we'll go and save this data set. This is a live join between Postgres and Data Fabric. And you can see that this is joining these two different sources of data. And now we can use all this new information, the weather data from Postgres. We can use that in our analysis. And again, we're doing all this in a 3-minute demo. This is very, very simple. You don't have to do any ETL work. And so here we have the maximum temperature for the day. We'll turn that into a dimension. Just tell Tableau to treat it as a dimension. And then we'll look at what is the trip distance based on the weather. And what we find here is that when the weather is nice, the average trip distance is actually longer. And that's probably because when it's really cold or really hot in New York, people take taxis even for shorter distances. And so hopefully this gives you an idea of just how easy it is to do analysis, whether it's just on the data that you have in Ezmeral Data Fabric, or it's data that you have that spans multiple different sources. But that's the idea. It could be on-prem, could be cloud, could be a combination of those things.